looks like we're 4 minutes past, so I'll go ahead and get started. We will be recording this for anybody that jumps on late. I wanted to quickly introduce myself. So my name is Shay. I'm the Senior Director of Revenue and Growth Strategy here at ProNovos, and we sincerely appreciate you taking the time out of your day to learn more about ProNovos and how we can help with your financial reporting workflow. We'll also be sending a quick follow-up after this webinar with our contact information and again, the recording should you have any questions, and I'll be your go-to for any sales-related questions or next steps. With me, I have our implementation manager, Denver Sperry, so he'll be going through the overview of the platform. So with that, I will hand it over to you, Denver.
Yeah, it's nice to meet you all. For everyone who's joined us this morning, we're real excited to show you guys some of the features and functions of ProNovos and what it can offer you guys as far as reporting or just general workflows when it comes to project reviews, the WIP. So if you guys do have questions, by all means, you can ask them in the chat and we can answer them as we go, but we will have a dedicated Q&A session at the end of it. So that way, if you guys do have anything that goes unanswered, we can get them answered then. All right, so without delaying this any further, let's just jump right to it. We'll give you guys a quick run through of the system and we will go from there. Move that over there and we are good to go. So ProNovos, just for the people that might not be super familiar with the product, maybe just heard of us through just talking with other people, but ProNovos is the goal that we have in mind with ProNovos and the solution that we're trying to offer new clients is a way to take existing accounting information, job information, package it all up, and show it in a very user-friendly and powerful way of reporting on different aspects such as your budgets, your WIP reports, cost reports, but also give you guys workflows as far as projections or just being able to run your job reviews out of the system. So I think the two big functions that we'll show off today are going to be the WIP and the job review functionality and how those two can work side by side with one another. Shay, if you have anything to add as we're going through this, please jump in and just.
Absolutely. The only thing I will add before you jump in is in terms of the sync. So just so everybody knows, so we do fully integrate with the Sage 100 contractor as well as some of the other top ERPs. We do an initial data sync. So that's done initially with our team. We do a Q&A to make sure all of the mapping is correct. And then we also will do a sync every night. And at the end of, I believe this month, we're also wrapping up a sync now. So if you needed to sync in the middle of the day, we have that availability, but just wanted to make sure everybody was aware that we are fully integrated with Sage 100 Contractor.
Yeah, we've got a couple in implementation as we speak now. So how that process would look, you guys sync your data in, and then you guys get to work with me for the next couple of weeks, just showing you around the system, how to configure it, how to best use the system for you guys and the company. So with the WIP report itself, this will be your kind of go-to report for a lot of people. I know that the WIP is one of the biggest reasons why people sign up with ProNovos, as maybe these are being done in Excel, maybe they're being accessed outside of Sage 100 or even just other accounting systems in general. So automating the WIP, kind of giving you a full scale look at all your jobs at a snapshot, is always something that's on the top of everyone's mind. So as you guys are looking through the WIP here, you've got all your your top level KPIs, and these can be edited. You can move them around. You can change them through our workspace functionality. We've got some charts that'll say, hey, per project manager, what is our profit, backlog, build to date, maybe by job type. Tons of ways that you guys can kind of slice and dice the information that you see here. But the meat and potatoes of the WIP report is going to be the data down below. Right, so all this information is going to sync from your Sage 100 database. So your contracts, your change orders, your budgets, your cost to date, your billings, all of that is going to sync directly into ProNovos. Right, so all the other columns in this report are going to be calculations on top of that information. Right, so being able to give you your percent complete, give you your earned revenue to date for each of these jobs, and eventually giving you your over and under calculations. Because as we're looking through the status of these jobs, we want to keep tabs on how far along, not only cost wise we are, but how far we are billed on each of these contracts. So what you'll be able to do, you can group these, by project manager, by project class. So that way, if you want to get mini WIP reports for each individual project manager, you'll be able to see, okay, here's Jack's jobs, here's all their, individual line items, and then kind of summarize it per each individual project manager, right? The cool thing about this is you would be able to export these out to PDF or CSV. So if you do need to send these off to maybe those project managers, maybe the owners, or even the bonding companies, you've got the capability to do that as well. Okay. Now, the big feature that we've since rolled out this past week is the new job reviews functionality. So that's kind of the angle that we want to go through today. Is everyone has a WIP to some degree, whether it's in Excel, whether it's in their accounting system. But I think taking it one step further, and that's what this column here, this upcoming project review, is going to indicate, is how many of these jobs are we reviewing probably on a monthly basis. I would be curious for everyone who's here, if you want to just type it in the chat, that would be cool. How often do you guys do these job reviews with the PMs or, with the operations team just generally? Is it weekly? Is it monthly? Is it quarterly? Be curious just to get some thoughts on how often you guys are doing it. But how these job reviews are going to work is you would be able to click into each of these individually here. You can also access the review tab at the top of the screen. So the review tab is going to give you a list of, hey, here's all the jobs that, we said, all right, we're going to do these monthly, so they're due at the end of the month. Okay. So we've got one of them completed. We did one today, but maybe we want to review our first job in the list here. So what you would be able to do is click into the job and give you a list of all of your different categories that you guys are looking at these jobs. What we're finding is that there are a lot of contractors out there that don't have kind of a formalized process, right? It's an Excel sheet here. It's an informal meeting for, these different job reviews. So the idea being that you kind of have all of these high level metrics and, review process directly in the system so that you guys can run these meetings directly out of ProNovos, right? So as we're going through the list, we can see how far along we are complete, and we can just start clicking through these different options here. So if I go into the financials component, we'd be able to see a quick snapshot, hey, of this Chrysler building job, what's our contract, what's our budget, and then what we would see is our cost, billings, revenue, over under, kind of your high level stuff there. Okay. Now there are some links to take you to, in this case, our projected final cost tool, or we would be able to update those, projected final contract numbers or projected final cost numbers, just kind of at a high level at that job level, right? So if we were to go through there and we're talking to, who is it, Jack, on this job, we can say, okay, we're looking through the numbers. We have some notes that we want to put in here, so we can click the little plus sign and we can just type in, hey, we're overbilled, where costs are, at 3,373,000, or hey, our margin is looking a little bit lower than what we originally bid. We can type in any notes, and then once we're done with the note section, or we're good with what we see up here, we can click the I reviewed button and allow you to kind of go down through the list and see, what's next on the docket, as far as just keeping tabs on how each of these jobs are progressing throughout the length of those jobs, right? So if we want to put in any issues, concerns, just, hey, it's snowy, it's going to cost us, another 5 days. We're going to see a cost impact or not. Maybe it's just, we're scheduling it out, but we can put those in there. Just put a 0 for now, and we can kind of just keep tabs on everything that's going on, maybe for the last month. And what this should allow you guys to do is kind of have that audit trail, that paper trail of the PM. So that way, if a job does go sideways, we can always review back and look at these old job reviews and just keep tabs and make sure that things are progressing the way that you guys want it to, or that we're catching, these issues, these concerns, or just kind of having a place to dump some information into. So that way, we've got our CYA if we need it, right? So once we're done with that, we can review it. We're good with the financial component of the job. We can then move on to our next section. Okay, so project forecast. This kind of integrates with the projected final cost tool. And this would say, hey, here's our projected final cost. Here's our cost to date. And then based on, the numbers, here's our cost to complete. Now, this little indication is just saying, hey, this projected final cost doesn't match what's on the WIP. So if we wanted to update that, we could click in, update it back to the WIP, and make sure that all of our detailed projections are matching what's on the WIP report. Okay, so once again, if we wanted to put any notes into this, if we want to just, all right, we're good with it, we can review it, and then we can move on down to our next section, which would be the summary of all of our job costs by those cost categories, right? So we're not showing cost codes just yet. We'll get to that here in just a second, but this would just be your high level overview of how's the materials, how's the subs, how's the labor, how are each of our categories performing, when it relates to our budget versus our actual costs on the job. Okay, showing how many open commitments we have for each of these different line items to get our summary version of what we say the final cost is going to be for each individual category. So we can see that we're losing some money on this miscellaneous materials, but we're actually picking up some money on the, regular materials. So that way we can just get a quick snapshot once again and see how that job is doing. If we want to see a more detailed version of this, say I want to dig a little bit deeper, we can click into this projected final cost option here, and it would take us to the detailed projections tool. Okay, so this tool would be used to go through line by line, cost code by cost code, phase by phase, and we would be able to see what our hours are, what our budgets, actual costs, and what that projected final cost is going to be. This would be the workflow that the PMs typically would go through to get their forecasted final cost number, right? So if we wanted to say, okay, for stainless steel, we think our material is going to be, instead of 750, maybe we're going to bump that up to 1500. Okay, so we can make our updates, we can save it, and what it will do is allow us to get a more accurate projected final cost number. Okay, so this would be done, I don't know, weekly, monthly. Monthly is the most common frequency that we see that clients are going through this, but this should give you guys that dedicated space. And I think that's what we're trying to solve, is just giving you guys that formal software that everyone can click into, everyone's seeing the same information. We're not comparing different spreadsheets from the PMs and the accounting staff and the owners. That way everyone's speaking the same language. Right. So once you get your detailed projection all figured out, we've got it, we're done with it, we can close it out, and we would return back to that previous screen that we were looking at. Okay, so yes, we're good. We made some adjustments, adjusted the materials on stainless steel, and we can submit our notes and we can mark those as reviewed. Okay, now the budget adjustments would allow us to keep tabs on, since the last review, right? Here's all the adjustments we've made in our projections tool. And this is to help keep you guys just in tune with, okay, since last month, we see that, we've increased costs here, we've increased costs there, maybe we want to put in any notes, hey, this is the labor part. So, just for production rates, we'll make it real straightforward here. But we can, once again, type in all our notes, we can keep all of our audit trail going, and then we can review that and move on to our next section. Okay. So after our forecasts, we have our change orders. This one's going to be, just taking a look at, hey, here was the original contract. original budget, revised numbers, and then what our original profit margin and what our revised profit margin. Now, this is just taking a look at all the change orders that are impacting the job. Okay, so if we're looking for more of a detailed breakdown, we can just keep scrolling through and we would be able to see, hey, here's all of our approved change orders on the job. We don't have any estimate type, but we've got a lot pending and we've had some change orders that got rejected for one reason or another. Okay. Once again, if you want to see a little bit more detail, then we can click on the change orders. We can open up a new tab and it would give us a detailed breakdown of all the change orders that occurred on that job. And then what you'd be able to do is scroll to the bottom and we can say, okay, why, this big change order, why is it still pending? What is it? You can click right into the number and we give you a fly out window of everything that was included in that change order. Okay. So let's keep on going through this. So once again, we'll review these. We're good. We have no new change orders. Good. Move on to our next section. And now we're on to the billings aspect of it. So just reviewing to make sure that billings are going out in a pretty timely fashion. I think everyone will say the same thing, that the biggest piece of getting the job going is making sure that billings are done timely, making sure that we're getting paid also in a timely fashion. So comparing our billed percentages versus our contract amount, making sure we've got all our notes in there. And then, hey, we're overbilled by $965,000. What's the reason for it, right? If there's a reason that we're over or underbilled, this is great for, providing that context to maybe the bonding companies or to the accounting staff. Hey, we are overbilled by this, but we're expecting a lot of costs to come in next month that, maybe we billed for ahead of time, right? So once again, being able to track all this information in there is vital to just keeping tabs on how the job is progressing. Okay. Also seeing all your outstanding invoices. We've got 200 grand roughly in outstanding. We've been paid, 4 million to date, on average 57 days to pay from the customer. So, as we're looking through and, all right, if we bill out today, how long is it going to take for them to pay us? Just under 60 days. So that way, if you guys are projecting cash flow, just making sure that all your costs are being covered. This is the, most crucial part of the job, is making sure you guys are paid on time. Okay. And then it'll show you each of those two invoices that come up to our $195,000 total, which would show us, here's when it was invoiced, here's when it was due. Okay, we see that these invoices are due in 2023. All right, it's already January. So maybe we want to go ahead and update these projected payment dates. And we can actually just go ahead and click into it and say, okay, we think that we're going to get paid by the end of the month. We can save that. And we can do the same thing for our other invoice. Clicking too fast. And we can go through and make sure that everything is being updated and, just what this will feed into is your cash flow, right? So if you're looking at all of your AR invoices, outstanding AP outstanding invoices, to make sure that these projected payment dates are being managed properly. That way, when you look at your cash positions over the next couple months, you would have all this information in front of you. Okay. So if we go through that, we can review all these, move on to our next section, which is the schedule. Pretty straightforward. Show us our start date, show us our finish date. What's our percent complete? How many weeks do we have left? Okay, all good. We can move on. I think these next two sections are pretty interesting, because what these will give you is, hey, our overall, we have a budget rate of $36. We're running at $51. We can see that that's, a bit higher than what we estimated. So, what's the difference in why our job to date rate is a lot higher than our budget rate, right? Maybe it's just poor conditions, maybe it's just slow work, maybe it's just a lot more difficult of a job than we anticipated. But being able to manage this, see it in front of you, I think that's the biggest piece that we hope that you guys take away, is that you do have all this information. that's pulling directly from your Sage 100 database, but being able to repackage it and show it in a way that I think can make, better decisions, better analysis of your jobs, past and present. Right. So we can review that. We've got our labor hours. And then what we'll see is, okay, based on each of our categories that we defined in the job, here's how many crew members we had. Here's how many hours per week that we're going to be spending for each of those different types. So it'll give us, let's just type in some numbers here. So we can start to get our weekly burn rate. So we have this many hours remaining for this many weeks. Here's what our analytics are going to tell us that, we have remaining on the job. Okay, I know this is a test one, so we play around with it a little bit. So all that considered, we've got our next section, and then the custom tab, and we'll save these last couple minutes here for questions, but this custom tab would just be anything else that you guys want to see on the job. Okay, are there any safety issues? When's our inspection date? You guys would be able to customize this and add any number of fields in here, so that way, as you're completing this, you've got that backup for all of your job reviews. Okay, then what we'll do is once we're through the list, we can see that, okay, we didn't review one of these. Got it. We can click there. Back to our next section. We didn't review that one, and now we're all done. So all that to kind of keep tabs on what you guys have in front of you for your jobs, and being able to see all of your past reviews in the system at any given point. Right. So hopefully this would give you guys some insight into that WIP process, that review process with the project managers or with the accounting staff. But I think this is a very powerful tool that we're starting to see a lot of traction in the marketplace for people that are trying to create some standard operating procedures, or just getting better at their job. And I think that's where we shine the best.
Awesome. Thank you, Denver.
Yeah. So I guess we can save the last couple minutes if you guys have questions, if you want to type them in the chat, or I don't know if everyone has audio capabilities or not, but yeah, if you guys have anything, let's see them and we'll answer them the best we can. All right, so one of the questions being, where does the cash flow update go in ProNovos? So when we're looking at, cash flow forecasting based on receivables, or just, hey, where's our cash going to be? We would actually be able to look at that within that cash flow forecast module. And what this will show us is all of our cash positions, inflow, outflow, and then we would be able to see, over those next 13 weeks, based on all of our invoices in the door, out the door, and then maybe just any, miscellaneous income or miscellaneous recurring expenses like payroll. Hey, we're going to spend 75 grand a week. So this would give you a nice snapshot of, here's what our cash looks like for all of our money market accounts, saving, checking, operating, but give you that 13-week look ahead and see, where we plan to be over the next 3 months. Okay. Do we need to build workflows out? So yeah, all these, the question is, do I need to build these workflows out, or are they standard with the system? These would be all standard. So out of the box, as soon as your data is synced, you have access to all the WIP, job review, projected final cost, cash flow, AR, AP, revenue projections, comparative financial statements. So all this is just out of the box, No config, there's some configurations to get maybe some specifics for your guys' account in there, but this would be just ready to go right out of the box for you. All right, any other questions, comments, or I don't know, anything else that you guys have? Shay, anything from your end?
No, I think that really covered it. The only thing I would see if you could pop open real quick is the analytics section, just so everybody can see that we do have an analytics marketplace, which is about a dozen or so pre-built dashboards. So this is going to pull all the data from the Sage 100 contractor. And again, like Denver said, this is out of the box. So all of these workflows will be available as soon as that data is synced.
Yep, and all these dashboards are built in a way that should give you, most of the information you guys are looking for when it comes to like this one's being a project billing analysis. So give you that snapshot of the job, how it's being billed, give you kind of some nice visuals on days to pay, monthly billing amounts, how much is outstanding for each of those months, schedule values. So if you're using that, AIA type billing style, would give you, hey, here's what we plan to bill, here's what we've billed, and what our percent complete is for each of those. And then I think the chart that most people find most useful, especially the PMs, is this cost versus billings versus cash. That'll show how much we've billed, what our cash received is, and what our costs out the door are. So just to plot it on a chart and see, where's our break-even point. So somewhere around that September of 2020, we see that our cash received has consistently been higher than our cost out the door. So, it's always good, numbers, you can kind of get some good information here, but sometimes just a simple chart like this can go a long way with visualizing your information as well. A little bit easier to digest, I think, too.
Great. Thank you, Denver.
Yeah.
And if there aren't any more questions, I'll just end off with this screen that has our contact information. And with that, thank you everybody for your time.
Yeah. Thanks a lot, guys.
Have a great day.